Hey folks, you see me? Oh, look at that right there. Popped up on Facebook. It's popping up everywhere. Ha! Look at that, huh? Like my new Leopold hoodie. I don't think you can buy these anywhere. Am I scratching my mic, Marcus?
Yeah, it's a little.
Oh. So I wore this just for today. They sent me 2 of them, and I got a new one because the other one I spilled some Dairy Queen on it, and it had a big stain. So anyhow, we are here for another episode of Elk Talk Live. This is the funnest thing I do all week, is on Wednesday night at 8 o'clock, we come here and we try to solve all the world's problems related to elk hunting. And it is brought to you by, right here, Bowtech, right here, Leupold, Ripcord, Tight Spot, Black Gold, Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls. Oh, last week they picked someone for the Black Magic Diaphragm Call. They're going to pick another one this week. And then we got Onyx Maps. Remember, use promo code Randy and get 20% off their app products. And Go Hunt. If you're like all this tag stuff we're talking about this time of year, Go Hunt is the place to get all that sorted out. Their insider system, though, if you use promo code Randy, they're going to give you $50 of free mad money in their gear shop. So, wow. Hey, Billy Lane, my friend from Finland here is watching. This is so cool. Billy, you send me all kinds of cool stuff, email messages. Someday I got to go to Finland and go deer hunting or capercaillie or whatever. I know they don't have elk there, but anyhow, what we're trying to do today, folks, is, let's see, behind us we have Wyoming is already passed. I didn't draw in Wyoming. So I've been swinging for the fences this year. I mean, because I had low points, I thought, well, I'm going to see if I can draw something in the random draws. So I really swung for the fence in Wyoming. I didn't get anything. Arizona started hitting credit cards last Friday. So by now, your credit card should have a charge on it if you drew in Arizona. And the deadline for Utah passed, last Thursday. So in front of us right now, and these are the states we're going to talk about, is Montana is a week from tomorrow, March 15th. And then 2 weeks from today is New Mexico. You got your New Mexico in today, right, Marcus? And then after that, April 3rd is Colorado. So we don't want anyone to miss a deadline. Do not miss a deadline, because if you miss a deadline, you can't draw a tag. And if you don't draw a tag, you can't go elk hunting. So Wes asked me, Randy, have you applied for Minnesota elk? No, I didn't know non-residents could apply for the one elk tag they give in Minnesota. But I'm getting ready to do Kentucky. That's just a $10 raffle ticket is all that is. So I'll try that. Let's see. How can we have this many questions already? Oh, that's amazing. Mike asked, Randy, how a Series 1500 in a 308 or a 7mm 08 for elk? If you're mostly elk hunting, I'd say go with the 308. Wow, there's a lot of questions. Oh, here I got it. So two other things before we get into more questions. If you want to get signed up for this, and then I'm going to tell you how to get signed up and notified, because I got an idea going. So to get notified, you got to text Randy, R-A-N-D-Y, to 77453. So here's something I'm working on with the partners, and I need to know what you guys think of this. I'm thinking of putting together an elk hunt. It doesn't cost you any money, you just got to sign up. But my window of time is so small to do it. I'd have to do it in early September, and it'd have to be an archery hunt. And you got to clear all these legal hurdles to do this stuff. A lot of people do sweepstakes and raffles, and they're violating every state gambling law you can think of. So we're working on clearing all those legal hurdles, and I'm just curious if people would be interested, where all you do is, if you're signed up, we pull someone from the list and you come archery elk hunting with Randy in early September. And we have a place in Colorado where we can go. And we're not going to get it done before the deadline, the April 3rd deadline in Colorado. So I'm just, I'm trying to get it sorted out. If you guys think, give the big thumbs up if you think it would be a good idea. If you think it'd be a bad idea, let me know. I don't want to waste everybody's time. So, all right. Randy, I applied for my first antelope tag in Colorado. Eric, I can tell you, if you apply for an antelope tag and you draw, you are going to be addicted. It's kind of like bugling elk, but not quite that much interaction, but it's still a ton of fun. And man, do they taste good. Marcus, what's with all these blue bubbles? Oh, they're thumbs up. I got it. It must have been when I was talking about the... Sorry, folks. I'm like, it looks like soap bubbles going across my screen by the bajillions here. And that... look at that. Now my screen is plumb full. Mike Mulligan. Mike, you ask, am I going to be the MC at the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation banquet in Bozeman, Montana on April 7th? Yep, I am. I can't believe that Elk Foundation banquets are not yet tired of Randy being MC, but I get to do that a lot. I enjoy doing it. It raises money for conservation, and I'll be there. And if you have an Elk Foundation event in your neighborhood, I would suggest you go there. Make a difference. Let's see, what's this one? Dean. Dean asks, in New Mexico, when you apply for a draw hunt as a non-resident, how do you know if you're applying for an either sex tag, mature bull, or a special hunt tag? The hunt codes don't seem to tell you. Yeah, they do. If you look in them, the hunt codes will tell you mature bull, or any elk, or whatever. Most of them that you're going to apply for are going to be mature bull, because if I remember right, all of the cow tags in New Mexico are reserved for non-residents. So the codes that we're going to be looking at, yeah, they're going to be mature bull. And like I said last week, there's S, which is standard. There's Q and HD. The standard is the lower price. There's not as much demand. Q and HD, which is quality and high demand, those ones I think like $760 or something for the more expensive, and 500 and something for the less expensive. Sergio says, I didn't draw Arizona with 0 points. Should I be mad? You can be mad, but not gonna do you any good. You're gonna be in the same camp of an awful lot of people. I know guys with dozens of points, over a dozen points, who didn't draw. Here's always an interesting one, and I'll just give you a basic answer. Casey says, Randy, what are your thoughts on long-range hunting? Well, I have no problem with long-range shooting. I just am not a big fan of long-range hunting. And some of my buddies, I can go out to our range here in Montana that we have. We got a great range. I have friends who are the most unbelievable long-range shooters. I just am marveled at how good they are. But every one of them tell me, you know what? I don't shoot at any elk over 400 yards. I'm like, wow, if anyone could do it, it's these guys. And they say, no, there's a difference between hunting and shooting. And I respect them. They could do it if anyone could, but they look at it differently and just say, no, if I'm hunting, that's one thing. If I'm shooting, you know what? That's just a gong, a metal target out there. So that's my thought on it. Without getting into the gory details, hey, Jim says if we draw his name for an elk hunt, he's bringing dilly bars. Jim just got extra entries in the contest right here. Cameron asks, Randy, do you apply for hard to draw hunts with high harvest success rates, or hunts that have lower harvest success rates and higher draw odds? Because we have to have so many tags for the show, there's some states where it's like, well, I know my odds are really low anyhow, so I'll try for one of those hunts that are low odds, high success rates if you do draw. But most of my applications are going to be in the easy to draw, okay, not as good access, not as good as success rates, but at least I have a tag, we can go and film a story. All right, Marcus is laughing about something there. Did I say something, or did someone else say something?
No, someone wants to trade you a tandem parachute jump for a September elk hunt.
Trade me a tandem parachute jump for a September elk hunt? Nah, I'm not doing that. That person's entry, we might have to, don't keep their name or it might get thrown out of the mix. Oh, here's a question. Are all wilderness areas open to big game hunting in Colorado? Joss asked that. I think he's referring to the fact in Wyoming, if you're a non-resident, you have to hire an outfitter to take you into a officially designated wilderness area to hunt in Wyoming. In Colorado, that rule does not apply. If you draw the tag for that area, knock yourself out, go in there. Whenever we can get a film permit for it, we are hunting wilderness areas because they make really, really great sanctuaries. Keith asked a question and that I just saw it today in my news feeds. I get mountains of news feeds, but Keith asked, Randy, what are your thoughts on the new study linking CWD to brain disease in humans? I haven't had a chance to read it, but I'm going to read it. I'm going to do a lot more research on it. I'm going to send it to some of my friends who they are scientists. They're going to look at this and say, yeah, it's got some validity or no. I'm not smart enough. So I'm lucky that the circles of people I run with, I can take an article like that and say, is this BS or is this a real thing? So right now, that's how I've formed my opinion. Luke asks, what's the best way to learn to call elk? Well, best way I can think of, don't do this in the house. You're going to get thrown out of the house. Take this call, take a diaphragm call, and go outside and practice. Practice when you're driving down the road, practice out in the garage, practice up in the hills. Just practice, practice, practice. That's the best way. I don't know any other way to do it. Maybe there's some magic trick and someone has a better answer than that, but it's the way I've had to do it. Randy, have you heard about the units in the Bighorns of Wyoming possibly limiting the Type 1 tags for archery? No, I've not heard about that because most of the Bighorn units already have a Type 9 tag, which in Wyoming a Type 9 tag is archery. And in a lot of those units, you can't use the Type 1, which is the rifle tag. You can't use it in archery season. So I've not heard of any change to that, but maybe it's coming and I've just missed it. Oh gosh. What unit do you hunt antelope in Nevada? Whatever unit, they will give me a tag. I had the Sheldon tag in 2007. Amazing hunt. Really, really a good hunt. But I've helped people with Nevada pronghorn tags, and I've yet to find a bad pronghorn hunt in Nevada. So is 50 to 55 pound draw weight good for youth elk hunting? I think if you got someone who can do 50 to 55 pounds and their shots are reasonable ranges and you use a quality arrow with a quality broadhead, they're going to kill an elk. Obviously, the more that they can crank that up with staying accurate, the better. But I only shoot 60 pounds, so, or 61 or 62, somewhere in there. That's not much difference from 55. So Kara, she's killed 2 bulls. What does she draw? 50? 50? Yeah. Marcus's wife, Kara, she's killed last 2 seasons. She's killed bulls with her 50-pound draw weight. So 60. Yeah. Oh, she does 60? Yeah. Oh, well, she's one of these women then. Okay, I'm sorry. I thought you said 50. Oh, gosh. Practice elk calling. Funny thing is, I called in 2 bulls before I took one. Calling is key. Colorado is projected for drought. Is it worth applying? I apply. Arizona right now is going through the worst drought they've had in years, in a decade. I still applied. I just want to go. And that's, how do I say this without sounding bad? But to me, you have to hunt through the full moon. You have to hunt through the hot weather. You have to hunt through a seasonal drought, whatever it is. You still get to go. And when people say, I don't want to go because it's a drought and the antler size isn't going to be that big, I get that. I get where that might be coming from, but I just want to go. So if it's a drought year and the antler size isn't that big, fine. I'm still elk hunting. So that's kind of the way I look at it. And you know, Ryan here has a good point. He says the drought will narrow down where you're going to find elk, and that's very true. The elk are going to be in higher concentrations where you do find them. They're not going to be as dispersed across the landscape, so there's going to be a lot of places that don't have elk. But when you do find the spots that have elk, there's something there that's keeping them there. Obviously water nearby, and some place where for whatever reason the feed is a little greener. Do I highly recommend Mystery Ranch packs? I see every one of your shows you're using them. Yeah, I bought my first Mystery Ranch pack as quick as they came out with the hunting line, the old crew cab line. That was way before I started the TV show and the other platforms, and I just keep using them. They're superb packs. So I just keep using what works. So draw dates for Washington hunts, Jason S. I don't really know, Jason. I don't apply in Washington because it's a pretty crowded state. The cost and opportunity is, if you measure cost, opportunity, and the quality of the hunt compared to the other western states, Washington is like really low on my list for where I'm going to allocate my budget. So I'm sorry that I don't know more about that, but I don't. Randy, I have 10 points for antelope in Wyoming. This is Travis. My son is 14 and I want to apply him, so we'd go in together with 5 points. Am I giving up a grade hunt by going together and only having 5 points? Or is 5-point unit going to be good too? You know what? If I could go hunt with my 14-year-old son, I would give up 100 points. That's how I feel about that. Quality in Wyoming with 5 points, you can shoot really, really nice bucks in units in Wyoming that take 5 points. Yeah, they're not going to be that highly recommended top tier of the glory units, but if people knew how many points it takes in some of the units where we've shot Boone and Crockett bucks and even almost Boone and Crockett bucks, no one would ever have 5 points in Wyoming if they saw the places we hunt and what we're able to dredge out of those places. So Travis, go do it. You and your son will have a blast. You'll look back on it and say, man, that's the best thing I could have done. So Troy says, I've never seen a recipe that calls for antlers. Just saying. I like that. All right. What, you got anything there, Marcus?
Yeah, some off of live stream.
Okay.
Someone was wondering what the differences would be between a $2,000 Bowtech bow versus a $1,000 Bowtech bow.
What's the difference between a $2,000 Bowtech bow and a $1,000 Bowtech bow? I should be able to tell you that difference, but I don't know of any $2,000 Bowtech bows. I mean, mine are, the ones I shoot are around 1,000, maybe a little over. They're all great. It's, you know, like me, people say, well, why do you shoot a Howa rifle? You know, they make way more expensive rifles than that. Well, I want to use what works. So I would say go shoot them, find the one that works, find the one that fits your budget, and don't worry about what other people might say or you know, what someone else might think of it. It's what works for you. Ray is asking, sage grouse or rough grouse? That's not even in the same ballpark. That's like saying, do I want to eat an old boot or do I want to have an elk tenderloin today? Sage grouse compared to rough grouse, no, nothing against sage grouse. I love them. They're cool looking birds, but they just are never going to be in the same league as rough grouse. Does logging affect elk? Michael asks this. Where I hunt in Colorado, second week, they've been logging a lot around my good spots. Logging will affect elk at the time they're logging. And when you think about what logging does, it's a disruption to the canopy. Whether they're logging in aspens, whether they're logging in, you know, Doug fir or ponderosa or whatever, The next year, for sure, most logged areas are going to have greater growth of forage. And if it's done right, it's going to be better for wildlife. And I know some people are that kind of counterintuitive. I mean, if they go in there and they punch a road in and it now is like a place everyone drives through, that's not good for elk. Every study shows that elk avoid roads. There's not a study yet that says elk are not affected by roads. So when someone comes in and logs, hopefully they gate it off or they obliterate the road, and then it's able to come back into really good elk habitat. If they leave the road in there and it becomes like this big thoroughfare that everybody's using, one, it's going to spook off elk. Other thing is, where do you see all the noxious weeds? It's like a band along the roads, anywhere from 5 yards off the road to 100 yards off the road. It's just a big band of where the noxious invasive weed species are. That's not good elk habitat. So if it's done right, it can be really good for wildlife. What unit do I put in New Mexico? Not telling. That's the fun of all this research and everything else, is to go and dig it out and figure it out and plan and strategize and, oh yeah, that's what that looks like on the map. So I never really go so far as to give units of apply here, apply there. Let's see. How do you tell if a road that passes through private land are public or not? Trying to reach BLM land that is almost landlocked. You know, that's a good question. You don't know until you call that BLM office or you call that county and talk to their roads people. Because we did a YouTube video on this. It's out on our YouTube channel. We were in Wyoming last year. That same exact thing came up. I saw a really good chunk of BLM I wanted to get to, but I couldn't tell for sure. No mapping system, no anything can tell you. So I drove out there and I got there and there's a gate about 100 yards where the road crosses this corner into private. There's a gate there. Couldn't get to all that BLM land. It's private land. That private landowner can do what they want. The BLM did not have an easement going through their land, so they put a gate there, and that's how it ended up. And you just don't know until you get there. Why don't I shoot grouse on the wing? Because they're too good to eat. One, you're going to get pellets in the body instead of in the head, and more of them are going to get away. Grouse are food. I mean, this is serious business when we're talking grouse. I mean, Eric says Onyx will help with that road situation, right? It'll help in a lot of instances, but there's still some roads that you don't know. And Onyx can't tell because they take the data. And if the data doesn't say one way or the other, you don't really know. But it's going to solve that with a lot of them, the Onyx will. But I don't want to tell you it's going to have every road marked as public or not public. So, Kevin asks, when you're solo archery elk hunting, would you recommend spot and stock or would I gamble calling? Yeah, both. It just depends on the scenario. If they're bedded out in some place where I think I can get to them, I love spot and stock hunting. Out on our YouTube channel, there's 2 New Mexico elk hunts where I spot and stock, and I got so close. One of them I shot off a rock at like 2 yards. And the other one, if you were allowed to shoot them in their bed, I think I would have killed him too, but oh well, it didn't work out because when he stood up out of his bed and now I'm allowed to shoot him based on TV rules, he whirled and I didn't get the shot. But spot and stock is a ton of fun. It's a different experience than calling, but it can be fun. In Colorado, is it legal to access national forest by walking through a national park? Ryan asked that. In most instances, it is, and I think 5 or 6 years ago, they passed the rule that you can carry a firearm in a national park now.
You can't pack game through it in a lot of cases.
Oh, Marcus just reminded me. In a lot of cases, you can't pack your dead animal or game through the park. So that could complicate it. Check with the park. That's the answer, is check with the park. Randy, what call should I use if cows are the only ones talking? A bugle. If you're hunting bulls, I'm bugling. I know that's kind of a cut and dried answer, and it's never that cut and dried, but that's what I do. Keith says there is no Google Earth. What was it? There is no Google Earth road view for back roads. That's correct. You're not going to be able to answer that question on Google Earth. So, smallest caliber size I would use for elk. You're going to get arguments no matter how you answer that question. For me, a 270 is probably as small as I want to go. I know people who hunt them with a 25-06 or 6.5 Creedmoor. Again, my opinion is I don't want to go less than a 270. Oh gosh, there's a lot of them here. Would I shoot a 243 with a 103 grain bullet for elk? Well, I think I just answered that one. I wouldn't. I'd step up to something else. I'm not saying it won't work. I'm just saying I'd feel way more confident with something else. Let's see. Terry Anderson says, I picked up a Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls elk call at the Western Hunting Expo. Any tutorials out there? Yeah, there's lots of them out there. Corey Jacobson has probably the best elk calling tutorials of anyone I know. He's out at elk101.com. You've seen Corey hunting with us. You realize why he's the 8 or 9 time world champion. He's got it dialed in. You got anything, Marcus?
Someone wants to know where they can see your elk hunt from Arizona last year.
My elk hunt from Arizona last year. Oh, you can see it out on our YouTube channel. We have the day-by-day stuff out there. And Marcus is working on a film of that right now. When can they see it, Marcus?
Hopefully at the rendezvous.
Hopefully at the BHA rendezvous in April, but you can see the day-by-day part of that hunt out on our YouTube channel. The day-by-day parts there, the final polished episode is not out there. It's going to go to Amazon first, and we're doing the film, then we're going to do the Amazon episode, and then the Amazon episode will also go to YouTube. But if you want to see how it turned out, you got to wade through the day-by-day clips, but they're out there on our YouTube channel. Holy cow, this is amazing. I'm thinking a lot of people are, how do you young folks say this? You're up with it? No, you're down with that, right? I think a lot of people are down with the idea of an archery elk sweepstakes contest. Okay.
There's an application one that's, someone has 6 to 8 years before they retire.
Okay, someone's got 6 to 8 years before they retire.
And they want a trophy elk hunt when they retire.
And they want a trophy elk hunt when they retire.
Bow or rifle.
Bow or rifle.
What state should they start trying to get points for?
They're too late.
Too late?
You aren't going to get a quote-unquote trophy premium elk hunt if you only have 6 or 8 years to accumulate points. If I was them, I would be building points in Arizona, because I know that with 8 points, I'm going to be able to go on one of those late hunts, the late rifle hunts. And you're hunting the same big bulls that the archery guys and the muzzleloader guys are hunting. It's just a harder hunt because the elk are in sanctuary mode. They're not bugling, they're not doing any of that. The flip side is, if depending on where they live, maybe I'd look into building points in Wyoming also. But in Wyoming, 6 to 8 points isn't going to get you one of their premium hunts. So, let's see. Are you turkey hunting this spring? Molly asked that. I'm not, but Marcus and Michael are. I've got to do public appearances that week. And so you're going to Wyoming, right, Marcus? And then you guys are going to Nebraska from there?
Yep.
And then in Montana, if we find some, we'll shoot them.
Yep.
So we might turn into turkey. Well, Marcus is a turkey hunter. He's shot a lot of turkeys. I've shot 2 in my life, and that's a testimony to how stupid those 2 turkeys were that I shot one of them. Oh gosh. I'm not going to answer that one. That one will come up with a million different questions and thoughts and comments and opinions. So if you ask a really controversial question, I'm not going to answer it on Elk Talk Live. I might answer it on my podcast, but here we're trying to provide information, not stir the pot and create controversy. So Let's see. General public appearance in Minnesota? No, West, not Minnesota. Colorado is where I'll be that week. Let's see. Greg says, bad back and knees. Is it time for a guided hunt? Maybe. If that's what allows you to keep elk hunting, go do it. Don't let that slow you down, you know. Pride can be an expensive thing. I say that personally because my pride gets in the way of a lot of things, but if you got a bum back and bum knees, do whatever you got to do to go. Don't worry about what anyone else might think. When to start scouting in Colorado? I'm going archery elk hunting on September 7th. That's one of the problems of elk. You going and scouting elk in May is a waste of time because you're going to be hunting them in September or October or November, and they're going to be in a different spot than they are in May or even in June. Maybe if you go scout them in July and you're at the very first opening day of archery season of August, they might still be up in their high early season patterns. But if you're going to go and scout earlier, it doesn't really matter when, because the only real value you're going to get is to learn the landscape, know where the water sources are, know how the roads are. Is this road gated, not gated? Those are the values of scouting early. Other than that, you want to scout as close to your hunting date as you possibly can. So, you got a smile over there, Marcus. What's going on? Is it
A lot of things.
Is it one we can ask or answer?
Someone asked a good one is youth hunts in New Mexico, how hard are they to draw?
They're hard to, youth hunts in New Mexico are very hard to draw, but if you draw, trust me, they're worth every bit of it. I put my niece, Sydney, I hope you draw. I put my niece in this year. She lives in Deer River, Minnesota, and if she draws, we are going to have a blast. But the odds of drawing are really, really slim. All right. Randy, what's your thoughts about venomous snakes? And how would you deal with a bite if it was ever to occur in the field? I guess I'd do exactly what they tell you to do. Don't mess with it. Get yourself some help. Do what you got to do. And what are my thoughts about them in the field? I run into them every year. Every year we run into rattlesnakes, whether it's deer hunting or antelope hunting or elk hunting. And I say this, someone's probably going to say, wait till you get bit. I have this, what I call snake karma feeling that I leave them alone thinking they'll leave me alone. But now I've got this camera guy named Marcus who eats everything he encounters. If he sees something, he wants to eat it. So we might kill one just to eat it, but I'm never going to kill a rattlesnake just to kill it. That's my personal opinion on them. They serve a purpose. I don't have any irrational fear of them, and they do what they do. Snakes are snakes. So I wouldn't waste any time, I guess, losing sleep at night or changing my hunting habits based on a rattlesnake. All right. Had tickets but missed the storytelling last weekend in Bozeman. Any highlights or noteworthy comments? Richard asked that. It depends on if my wife finds out about the story I told. Right now, it's still a pretty low-key secret. No one's told her, but I could be divorced after that. You got anything more over there, Marcus? Crazy how many are here.
This is kind of a question that probably doesn't have an answer, but how many points does it take to draw a Missouri breaks tag?
How many points does it take to draw a Missouri breaks tag in Montana? That's going to get us into a little bit of the meat of Montana here. Montana has a bonus point system. So bonus point systems are like raffle tickets, okay? So you can't say in Montana, well, I've got 10 points, so I know I'm going to draw, because it's like having 10 raffle tickets, and if there's 1,000 tickets in the bucket, you don't know if one of your 10s is going to get drawn. So in Montana, because we have a bonus point system, you really don't know. Now, Colorado, that has the deadline, April 3rd is the Colorado deadline. That's a preference point system. So he or she with the most points gets the tag. So you can count with some consistency or predictability when you're going to draw or how many points it takes in a state like Colorado that's a preference point state. But in bonus point states, you can't really answer that question. And in a state like New Mexico that has no point system, you really can't answer the question because every year everyone's odds are exactly the same. So it's just the reality of how that question gets answered. Hunting spring bear this year. Yep, I'm definitely doing that in a lot of places.
For backcountry archery elk hunt, what cubic inch pack would you use to pack your meat and gear?
Oh gosh, what cubic inch pack for backcountry archery elk hunting? That depends on how much stuff you bring, how far you're going back. I try to get by, I don't know what the cubic inches is of my Metcalf. I have a Mystery Ranch Metcalf. I should know that, but I don't. You know what it is, Marcus? And then sometimes if we're doing really, really way back in there, you'll see I'm wearing even the bigger one, the Marshall. I think the Marshall is like 7,200 cubic inch, if I remember right. And I think the Metcalf is like 6,000, but don't quote me on that. Go and look.
4,500.
Oh, the Metcalf is 4,500?
But it has a little
And then it has the lid that gives you about another, what, 400 or 500 maybe? Something like that. And then we've got all of our additional pouches. The modules or the mobility / adaptability of the Mystery Ranch packs and the belt systems, you can add a lot more stuff to it than just what fits in the pack. So, Randy, you need to go on the Joe Rogan podcast. That'd be awesome. You know what, Grayson, if you can convince Joe to have me on there, I'll fly down and be there, but I don't know that that's going to happen. If you had one call, cow or bull call, RJ asked that. Absolute slam dunk. I'm going with a bugle, a bull call. The rest of the year, when it's post-rut or late season, I'm not calling anyhow. So give me a good bugle tube and give me a good diaphragm call and I'll be happy. Oh, someone just chimed in. The Metcalf is 4,300 cubic inches. There we go. Oh, Idaho spring bear, John says. They ever going to release the draw results? Normally, the Idaho spring bear draw results, there's some limited entry units there. I always apply for them. I've never drawn. But usually they're out by now. But no dice. I don't know. Even if I don't draw, Marcus and I were talking this morning about it. And Marcus, we're going to hunt right on the Montana-Idaho boundary. And Marcus says, well, I wonder how many grizzly bears we'll have to pass up to find a black bear. Because the spot we're thinking about going probably has more grizzly bears than it does black bears. Daryl asks, do I shoot factory loads or do I load my own rounds? I shoot Nosler trophy grade ammo in all of my rifles. 300 Win Mag, 7mm M08, 6.5 Creedmoor, 308. Every one of them are Nosler trophy grade factory ammo. Already comes to me loaded. We've done a whole series about reloading. We went out to Nosler last spring and filmed it, and it's out on our YouTube channel. And I learned a ton. Dakota is the guy, man. He knows this stuff. But I look at how good that factory ammo from Nosler is, and that's what I use. So. All right, boy, we got a lot of great questions here. Lots of questions and a lot of great ones. But you know that at least twice in every episode, I got to remind you who makes this possible, right? Bowtech, Leupold, Tight Spot, Ripcord, Black Gold, Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls, Onyx, Go Hunt, GoHunt.com. So those are really important people who make this possible. And if you want to get notified, text Randy to 77453, because if we do what I talked about in the opening here, if we are able to clear all the legal hurdles and put together a sweepstakes, that's how you're going to get in the drawing, is you're going to have to be signed up for the notifications here. And hopefully we can do it. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I think we'll probably know the answer to that. I would bet in the next month. So let's see. I wonder how early you'd almost have to draw that winter so that they had enough time to go, vacation time and everything. Probably have to drop by early July, huh? If you're going to go in early September. Yeah. Oh, Randy, what type of binocular optics harness do you use? I use the ones by FHF Gear. Fish Hunt Fight is what that stands for. Paul Lewis here in Bozeman makes them. Great stuff. So, will the sweepstakes hunt come with a bow? Never thought about that. I'll have to ask Bowtech. Maybe. Randy, have you ever hunted over-the-counter units in central Colorado? I've hunted them over in the West Slope. I used to hunt over around Paonia, Grand Junction, Delta, all that country there. But I've never hunted in what you'd call central Colorado. But if you're hunting those over-the-counter units, just know that there's going to be a lot of pressure. Everyone applies for their, Wyoming, Arizona, Nevada, Utah, whatever, New Mexico, and if they don't draw, these over-the-counter units in Colorado are their fallback option. So you're going to get a lot of pressure, and we're going to talk about that after all the draws are done. We're going to say, all right, did you draw a tag or did you not? If you didn't, here are the other options. If you did, then in future episodes of Elk Talk Live, we're going to talk about here's how you should plan, here's how you can do desk scouting, here's how you can do this and that. So we'll get to all that for sure. Oh, Troy says he's got 7 weeks of vacation and he's ready. That's a good job. If you got 7 weeks of vacation, do it, man. Go spend as much of it as you can hunting. You won't regret it. I have an old saying, people who read my writing and read what I put out there on my Hunt Talk forum, I say hunt when you can because you're going to run out of health before you run out of money. Think about that. Someday you're going to run out of health, and you'll probably still have plenty of money. And you will wish that those times that you said, oh, I'm not going to go elk hunting this year because I really don't want to spend the money. I'm probably, my wife thinks my mission in life is to run out of money. So, holy cow. Some people ask like 20 questions. What's the deal here? I see some guys have like, his name is here and here. Will asked, do I fish? Do I fish? Heck yeah. Everybody should fish. I got to fish to save my marriage. My wife is a fanatic walleye fisherman. And if I don't fish, I'm probably not going to be married very long. Matt says, after listening to your latest podcast, a great contest would be a small game hunting with you and the crew that you have with you. Hank Shaw sounds like a fun guy to hang with. He is a really fun guy to hang with. And Marcus shot this javelina down in Arizona. Kara shot a javelina. And Hank made this, what was it? Pozole Verde?
Yep.
Oh, man. Anyone who tells you javelina cannot be made to taste really good. I mean, I'm not saying it was just so-so. It was really good. And yesterday, we loaded that recipe episode of Hank doing this on our YouTube channel. You can watch it out on our YouTube channel right now. And I think everybody who watches that is going to be buying an archery javelina tag in Arizona next winter. We probably won't even be able to get those leftover tags, Marcus. We're going to have to make sure we apply in the draw. Thanks to Hank. Ooh, walleye recipes. I'm not telling you, Kyle. If I gave you my wife's walleye recipe, she'd be putting knots on my head faster than I could rub them. Doug says, make sure you tell everyone that the wolves and bears killed all the elk in Idaho. Obviously, Doug is someone who hunts in Idaho and doesn't want any hunting pressure there. This one, John says, what's your tactic for weekend warrior day trips? When I was a weekend warrior and all I had were weekends to hunt, and that was my life for a long time, I would go to that trailhead on Friday night and I'd hike in as far as I could and set camp, or I'd sleep in my truck at the trailhead and I'd get up at 4 in the morning and I'd be on the trail and I'd be back up in there. Because on the weekends, what kind of happens, so season opens on Saturday, a lot of pressure. Season opens on Sunday, a lot of pressure. On Monday, pressure's a little less. Tuesday, pressure's less. Wednesday's pressure's less. Thursday, Friday, By Friday, the elk are starting to get a little more, maybe the big hunting tide, the rush of people has subsided. So by Friday, they're starting to get a little more relaxed again, and they're not necessarily in the deepest, darkest of sanctuaries. Saturday morning, be there. Take advantage of that and kill them, because as quick as all the people come walking in because they slept in, they couldn't get the mattress off their back, you want to be the guy back there where the elk are going to go to. So that was always my weekend warrior strategy, is be there way before the other guy. So, all right, Marcus, looks like you're chuckling over there. Are you chuckling, or are you just...
Most of these are comments. There's not a ton of questions. I'm looking at the live stream.
Oh, Marcus is looking at... so do you know, is anything on YouTube or on, YouTube today?
No, it didn't go on YouTube.
It still didn't go on YouTube. Darn it. YouTube and Facebook need to learn how to get along, but maybe that's never going to happen. Kirk asks, first rifle season, southern Colorado, what elevation should I hunt elk? That depends. First season this year, I think, is October 13th through the 17th, if I remember right. That's going to be your transitioning towards the pre-rut phase or post-rut phase. You're going to still have some younger bulls that are near the cows, which are going to be where the best feed is. And the best feed for cows isn't going to be in southern Colorado. You're looking at some 12, 13, 14,000 foot peaks. They're not usually going to be above tree line at that point. Maybe they will the first day, but I would look a little bit lower. But again, that depends on snow. It depends on, was it a summer drought so that there's no moisture down low? It's all up high. There is no set elevation, let's put it that way. Every drainage, they might be in a different elevation in that drainage.
Someone's curious if there's other good youth opportunities across the western states.
Other good youth opportunities across the western states. Idaho has some better price youth hunts. Licenses they have to hunt with a mentored licensed adult. Wyoming, I know when my son was a teenager, we'd apply him for the youth hunts in Wyoming, and they're the same hunts, but they're just a lower price. I know Montana has a non-resident youth price differential for the kids, but none of them that I'm aware of for non-residents. Like Nevada has resident youth deer hunts that are some of the best, but I don't know any state where non-residents are treated, or how should I say this? I don't know any state where they carve out some of their best elk tags like they do in New Mexico, bull elk tags, and non-residents can apply for the percentage of those that are allotted to non-residents. So every one of them have some little place that they're trying to make a difference, but when we're talking Elk Talk Live, elk hunting, think about New Mexico for the youth hunts.
I want to ask, what type of arrows do you like to use for elk?
Straight ones. No, the answer is, what type of arrows do I use for elk? I'm trying to remember. My Eastons are, gosh, I should know this, but I don't. Easton Axis. I should look it up because I changed last year to the newer model, or newer variety. Anyhow, they're Easton Axis is what they are. Okay, Randy, do you use a CDS system on your Leupold scopes? You bet I do. Best thing since, man, can't even believe it. If so, what elevation do you have your dials made for? It depends on if it's something, my rifle that I think is going to be an antelope rifle, I usually have that dial made for 5,000. If it's my elk rifle, I usually have that dial made for 7,500. And then I make sure I look at the dope sheets. In other words, here's my load, you can put it in the ballistic calculator, and it tells you how much the difference is. If you have something that's set for 7,500 and you go to 100 foot of sea level, that 7,400 feet is going to make a difference. So your dial, you're never going to be hunting at the exact etched dial altitude. So you have to know, is there much variation? Is there a lot of variation between 7,000 and 7,500 feet? Not at normal hunting ranges. Is there a lot of difference between 5,000 and 5,400 feet when I'm out antelope hunting? Not at normal hunting ranges. So that's kind of what I use and how I do it. And those CDS dials are the slickest thing because I'm handing my rifles off to people who've never used that rifle. Okay? And how many times have we been out at the range before the advent of dials and said, hold 8 inches over the target? Well, what is 8 inches to you versus 8 inches to some person new to your setup is completely different. Well, with the CDS system, you range out and say, 310 yards. You spin the dial to 310 yards and you say, hold dead on. Easy. Done. None of this other crazy stuff is required. So, yardage. What do I use for my 0 yardage on my CDS scopes? I use the 100 yard 0. Some people will do a 200 yard 0. I do 100, just because for filming and what we do and how we hunt. I mean, I'm trying to think the last time I took a shot out hunting that was 400 yards. They're just about all under 300, and occasionally they're slightly over 300. So that's why I do it that way.
I was wondering what the difference would be between the VX5 and the VX6 and why you would choose one.
Okay.
One over the other.
What's the difference between the VX5 and the VX6? They both come in HD. Leupold has VX6, VX5, VX3i. And the difference between the VX5 and the VX6 is mostly what features you want. If you want the absolute Cadillac with every possible feature, you're going to find those on the VX6 models. If you want something that is just unbelievable glass, unbelievable coatings, great optics, and these are what I'm using. I'm using VX5s. And maybe it doesn't have every other little feature that the VX6 has. You're going to step down to a VX5. You're not going to notice any difference hardly at all, and you're going to save a little bit of money. But some people want every one of those features, and that's great. They're great features. For me, I'm just trying to show people, look, these are amazing gold ring scopes made in Beaverton, Oregon, and they will do everything you want them to do. And that's why I've kind of fallen into the VX5 side of it. David Kearns, fellow CPA and hunter in tax season. David, I feel sorry for you. I hope you're surviving the season. And a Dairy Queen nut, it looks like. You got anything more over there, Marcus?
How do you make getting out of the sleeping bag at 4:30 in the morning less painful?
How do you make getting out of the sleeping bag at 4:30 in the morning less painful? You don't. Okay, so this is going to tell you how old I am. Okay, Jack LaLanne used to be this guy. He was the first guy who had a TV show about working out. My wife and I are at the airport in Las Vegas, and there's Jack LaLanne. I bet he's 80 years old at the time. And he said, you want to know how you accomplish your goal every day? You get out of that warm bed with even though you're in that warm bed with your wonderful wife, you got to go jump in that cold pool and exercise, because he would use swimming for exercising. He said, that's discipline. I kind of take that to heart. You know what? Getting up in the morning, you just got to get the mattress off your back and off you go. Laying there in the tent isn't going to kill an out. It's not going to get you any further up the hill. So just, it's a mental thing. Go do it. I don't know any other way to say it.
How do you find out if a trail through private land is a legal easement in Montana?
How do you find out if the trail through private land is a legal easement? You don't unless you go talk to the Forest Service, or you go down to the courthouse, look at the deed, and every deed that has a recorded easement will say, this is the legal description subject to this easement. That's really the only way you know. It's not easy to know. And I spend a lot of time at courthouses researching documents, trying to figure out where easements are. Boy, there's a lot of them here. Todd's talking about 5-pin sights. Is it better to get the Ascent? I have the Ascent black gold 5-pin sight, and man, some of the things I've put that through, crazy. I have, I can't believe a sight is made to withstand some of the things I put it through. Let's see. What's my favorite broadhead for elk? I can't say that I have a favorite for elk. I have two of them I use. I have a Wacom and I have a Magnus Stinger. Both of them are fixed blades, 125 grain. And they're really 4 blades. If you've ever seen the Stingers, they're big like that, triangular, and then they got bleeder blades going the other way. So all of mine are 4 blade, and they're all fixed blade. I don't use mechanicals. Oh, let's see, Randy, if you had 17 preference points for elk in Colorado, which unit would you apply for? If you're a non-resident, you're still behind the curve of some of the top tier units. You're behind the curve for Unit 61. It was in 2016, I burned 19 points to get a 3rd season rifle tag in Unit 61. For archery and muzzleloader, it takes even more than that, and that was 2 years ago. So 17 points, you're behind the curve. I would just look at because Colorado publishes the demand indexes that shows how hard and at what point level people drew. I would just look at which unit is probably the one where I can get in there. Maybe Unit 76 is a possibility. I don't know if 17 will get you there. It might. Maybe Unit 49. If you had access and connections in Unit 40, that'd be great, but it's mostly private, so it's a hard one. You're just going to have to look into it and see. But unfortunately, 17 points in Colorado as a non-resident doesn't get you in their best units. And some people who are new to applying are like, what do you mean, 17 points isn't going to get me there? It's not. Not in Colorado. So remember the deadline. We got Montana on March 15th. We got March 21st is New Mexico. And then we've got Colorado on April 3rd. So you want to make sure that you aren't missing those deadlines, especially in a state like Colorado where it's a preference point state. If you miss that deadline, you're not going to get a point for that year. And you're just going to fall behind the curve one more time. Colorado changed it this year where you don't have to send in the entire point fee or the tag fee to get a point. You just have to send in, I'm trying to remember what it was. I did it the other day. Anyhow, there's an upfront application fee is what you got to pay for, which is far less than what it used to be. So, New Mexico Game and Fish told me the order you list your unit choices doesn't matter. Is that true? It does matter because they look at your first choice, then they look at your second choice, and then they look at your third choice. So it doesn't do it if it's, historically your first choice takes, let's say it's normally a 10% chance, and your second choice is a 12% chance. It doesn't do you any good to put a third choice that's a 1% chance because you're going to draw your first or second choice before they'd ever get to your third choice. So always stack them in order of how hard they are to draw. Your hardest to draw is first choice, your second hardest to draw is second choice, and your easiest to draw is the third choice. So whoever told you that, maybe they didn't understand the question or I don't know. It definitely matters. Mike asks, when are New Mexico draw results available? Usually sometime in late April. I haven't even seen, usually they will post, expect draw results at this time, but they usually don't say that until after the draw closes, so we won't know until sometime after the draw closes on the 21st. So, let's see. Kenneth wants to know 165 grain or 168 grain Nosler. Whatever your rifle prefers. I have both in some instances, and I just go with, I let my rifle tell me which one. I'll have 2 rifles from the same company of the same cartridge, and you'd think that they'd want the same exact load. No, every once in a while. One will prefer this versus that. One will like an AccuBond better than a partitioner, the other way around, or one likes E-tips better than whatever. So you got to play it by ear and see what works for you. or work for your rifle. Let's see, what rounds for a 30-06 would you use for elk? I'd go and get a 180 grain Nosler partition, and I'd shoot that out of my 36 all day, or my 30-06 all day, every day, and I would never look back. So, oh, someone here just posted, Todd says the draw results for New Mexico are April 25th. So there you go. It's usually sometime that week in April. Oh, what do we got, Marcus? We got anything else that... I'm thinking of what we got to tell the world here. We got to make sure you text Randy to 77453. Watch our podcast, Hunt Talk Radio. You can get it on iTunes or Stitcher. Go to our YouTube channel. It's called Randy Newberg Hunter. Go to our web forum. Lots of good questions, lots of good discussion out there. It's called hunttalk.com. Please go and watch our episode. Oh, this is what happened in the last week. Amazon Prime. We just loaded up our new season. The first episode of season 1 got approved. So last week we got seasons 2 and 3 approved out there of Fresh Tracks. We already had 4 and 5. Now season 6, the stuff we filmed in the fall of 17, is starting to get approved by Amazon. So you're going to see a New Mexico elk hunt with Tracy Pettit from Leupold is the Amazon episode that's approved out there. And then our next one is Marcus's Wyoming elk hunt. And then after that is the Montana moose hunt. And after that, I think is Montana deer hunt. I can't remember. Anyhow, we're waiting for them to get approved at Amazon. And as they do, they go live and you can watch them. So one last question, Marcus. What do you got? Hey, Shelly, how are you from Arizona? I went to high school with Shelly. You got one? Or you want me to grab one here?
Yeah, there's some, but not very big.
People want specific units. We don't give specific units. Let's see. Don't worry about points. Oh, here's one. Thoughts on first versus second archery season in New Mexico for elk? Travis, you get the last question. So, most of you know that in New Mexico, or if you don't, I'm going to tell you, they have a first archery season in most units. It is the 1st through the 14th of September. And then they have the second or late archery, which is September 15th to the 24th. Most people, the highest demand is the 15th through the 24th because that's usually the peak of the rut. They're bugling, they're carrying on. It is a ton of fun. But like I answered the question earlier in the episode, I like to go. And the 1st through the 14th, the early season, are easier to draw. And if I draw that, I'm going to go hunt the 9th through the 14th. And that part, when you get there around the 9th to the 10th, 11th, you're getting into the rut. They may not, it's not going to be like it is on September 20th, but it's still going to be pretty darn good. The other thing is, bulls are a little more patternable in the early season than they are in the late season. They've already herded up their cows in the late archery season, and it's hard to get in on a big mature bull when he's got 20 cows there. Earlier in the season, he doesn't have all those cows. You might have a better chance. It might be a little hotter if you got water nearby, or you can use water as your tool to pattern them. You might have a better chance of patterning them with water in the early season. So I just say go. Find a way to draw a tag, and for me, that's the early season. So usually I make my first and second choice the second season because it's just so much fun in the peak of the rut. But my third choice is usually one of the first archery seasons. So that it, Marcus? Until next week, folks. That's it. Don't forget the deadline, March 15th. Montana deer and elk deadline. Get your tag. Thanks for watching.